The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor of the Evergreen Manor ballroom, shards scattering like the fragile illusions of the day, as Matthew's voice cracked through the laughter of oblivious guests. "Aiden, I can't do this. It's you. It's always been you." In that frozen heartbeat, Aiden's world tilted, the scent of roses and betrayal thick in the air, while the bride's bouquet trembled in her manicured hands just beyond the velvet curtain. And then, the whisper that followed wasn't a vow, but a grenade. "Marry me instead." Aiden Harper had always known how to blend into the wallpaper at events like this. Straight-back chairs draped in white lace, centerpieces exploding with peonies that screamed money and Midwestern optimism. It was his best friend's wedding, after all, and Matthew Ellis deserved every bit of the pageantry. They'd grown up in the flat sprawl of suburban Ohio, two kids kicking soccer balls in cul-de-sacs where the biggest scandal was Mrs. Hargrove's affair with the mailman. Aiden, with his quiet sketches in the margins of textbooks and a secret Polaroid collection of boys from summer camp, had learned early to bury his truths under layers of easy smiles and "dude, pass the beer." But today, under the relentless June sun filtering through the manor's stained glass windows, those layers felt thinner than ever. Aiden adjusted his tie for the umpteenth time, the silk a noose disguised as elegance. He was 28, a graphic designer scraping by in Cleveland's hipster lofts, the kind of place where exposed brick hid the rent hikes. Matthew, on the other hand, had catapulted into partnership at his family's law firm in Columbus. The golden boy with the corner office and the fiancée who looked like she'd stepped out of a J. Crew catalog. Emily Hargrove, no relation to the scandalous Mrs., thank God, with her blonde waves and sorority laugh, was the perfect capstone to Matthew's all-American dream. Aiden sipped his mimosa, the bubbles biting like accusations. He was the only gay guy here, or at least the only one out loud about it. His coming out at 22 had been a quiet affair. A letter to his parents, folded into the laundry basket, and a hug from Matthew that lingered a beat too long. "I'm proud of you, man," Matthew had said, clapping his shoulder with that boyish grin that made Aiden's chest ache. But Matthew, straight as the Ohio River, or so the world believed. They'd roomed together in college, shared late-night confessions over cheap whiskey, but never crossed that invisible line. Aiden had drawn it himself, sharp as a drafting pencil. The ceremony was a blur of vows exchanged under a floral arch that cost more than Aiden's monthly car payment. Emily's father, a rotund real estate mogul with a mustache like a broom bristle, boomed his approval as the officiant pronounced them man and wife. Aiden stood at the back of the groomsmen line, his rented tux pinching at the shoulders, clapping with mechanical enthusiasm. Matthew caught his eye across the aisle, that secret flash of something unnameable. Gratitude? Regret? Before the rice-throwing frenzy swallowed them. Reception hour 1 toasts. Aiden's was mercifully short, a quip about Matthew's terrible taste in fantasy football teams that drew polite chuckles. He retreated to the bar, nursing a whiskey neat, watching Emily twirl in her gown like a porcelain doll come to life. She was kind, Aiden admitted that much, had even cornered him once at a holiday party to say, "You make him happy, Aiden. Don't ever change." If only she knew how those words twisted the knife. By hour 2, the dance floor pulsed with aunts in sequins and cousins in ill-fitting suits. Aiden leaned against a pillar, sketching idly on a cocktail napkin. The curve of Matthew's jaw, the way his hair fell just so when he laughed. A habit harmless as a tick. That's when Matthew appeared, materializing from the crowd like a ghost in a tuxedo. His face flushed from champagne and something darker. "Aid," he said, voice low, hand clamping Aiden's elbow with a grip that bordered on desperate. "We need to talk. Now." Aiden's heart stuttered, but he nodded, letting Matthew steer him through the throng toward a side door. The cool air of the manor's veranda hit like a slap, the distant hum of cicadas underscoring the summer heat. Matthew paced the flagstones, loosening his tie with jerky motions, his breath coming in ragged bursts. "What's wrong?" Aiden asked, though a treacherous part of him already knew. Hoped, feared. Matthew stopped, back to the railing, eyes wild under the string lights. "Everything. All of it." He gestured vaguely at the ballroom's glow, the laughter spilling out like spilled secrets. Emily's amazing, Aid. She's everything my folks ever wanted, stable, beautiful, the whole package. But standing up there, saying those words, I felt like I was signing my own death warrant. Aiden's napkin sketch fluttered to the ground. Forgotten. Matt, it's cold feet. Every groom gets them. Remember Josh from the firm? He puked in the vestry. But Matthew shook his head, fierce, stepping closer until Aiden could smell his cologne. Sandalwood and regret. No, it's not that. You. The word hung there, a confession wrapped in shrapnel. Matthew's hands trembled as he reached out, cupping Aiden's face with a tenderness that shattered the night. Aiden, I can't do this because it's you. It's always been you. The world narrowed to the press of Matthew's thumbs against Aiden's cheeks, the raw vulnerability in his gaze. Aiden's pulse thundered, a lifetime of what-ifs crashing down. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm in love with you, Matthew whispered, the words a dam breaking. Have been since that stupid road trip to Chicago, when you sang off-key to Springsteen and made me feel seen. For real. Not the son, not the lawyer, just me. But I buried it, Aid. Pushed it down because Dad would disown me, Emily would crumble, and this town? It'd eat us alive. But today, God. Today I realized I can't live a lie anymore. Aiden's breath caught, tears pricking hot and unbidden. He dreamed this moment in stolen fantasies, but reality was sharper, laced with the terror of consequence. Matt, your life, our friendship, this could ruin everything. Matthew's laugh was bitter, broken. It already has. And then, in a move that defied every boundary they'd ever set, he pulled Aiden into a kiss fierce, starving, tasting of salt and stolen time. They broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed together, the veranda spinning around them. What now? Aiden murmured, voice wrecked. Matthew's eyes gleamed with reckless fire. Run away with me. Tonight. Screw the cake. The speeches. Marry me instead. The proposal landed like a thunderclap, absurd and intoxicating. Aiden laughed, a sound teetering on hysteria, as Matthew dropped to one knee on the cold stone. Ring box pilfered from his own pocket, the one meant for Emily, now glinting under the stars like a promise rewritten. But before Aiden could answer, the door creaked open. Emily stood there, bouquet wilting in her grip, her face a mask of confusion cracking into horror. Matthew? Aiden? What's happening? The grenade had detonated. Emily's voice sliced through the charged air like a shard of that earlier broken glass, pulling Aiden and Matthew apart as if by invisible strings. She stepped forward, heels clicking accusations on the flagstone, her gown trailing like a fallen banner. Tell me this isn't what it looks like, she said, not pleading, but demanding, her blue eyes, once so trusting, now storm-tossed. Matthew rose slowly, the ring box snapping shut in his fist, his face draining of color. God, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to find out like this, she finished, voice steady but laced with venom. Aiden had always admired her poise, the way she commanded boardrooms and charity galas with the same effortless grace. Now it turned on them like a blade. How long, Matthew? How long have you been? Whatever this is. It's not like that, Matthew stammered, reaching for her. But she recoiled, a flinch that cut deeper than words. Aiden stood frozen, the taste of Matthew's kiss still burning on his lips, guilt flooding in like Ohio floodwaters. This was his fault. No, there's a decade of sidelong glances and unspoken aches, culminating in this reckless unraveling. Emily, please, Aiden interjected, stepping forward, hands raised in surrender. We were just talking. He's scared. Weddings do that. She laughed, a sharp, mirthless sound that echoed off the manor's ivy-clad walls. Talking? With your faces that close? Don't insult me, Aiden. I've seen the way you look at him. Like he's the sun and you're just grateful for the warmth. Her gaze softened fractionally on him, pity flickering. I thought you were my friend. I am, Aiden whispered, throat tight, I never meant. But you did. She turned back to Matthew, shoulders squaring. All those late nights at the office, the canceled plans. Was it ever real? Or was I just the beard for your perfect little charade? Matthew's jaw clenched, the lawyer in him warring with the man. It was real, Em. You're incredible. But I can't. I can't pretend anymore. I'm gay. Okay? I've known it since college. Buried it under every expectation my family piled on. Aiden's the only one who's ever made me feel whole. The admission hung there, raw and irrevocable, the cicadas falling silent as if in mourning. Emily's bouquet slipped from her fingers, petals scattering like confetti from a canceled parade. Tears welled, but she blinked them back, chin lifting in that defiant Hargrove way. Then go. Be whole. But don't expect me to stand there smiling while you torch everything we built. She whirled, storming back inside, the door slamming with a finality that rattled the lanterns. Matthew made to follow, but Aiden grabbed his arm. Wait, give her space. This is nuclear. Matthew sank onto the bench, head in hands, the ring box clutched like a talisman. What have I done? Dad's gonna kill me. The firm's partners, half of them are here, toasting to my future. And Emily. Christ, she doesn't deserve this. Aiden sat beside him, close but not touching, the space between them humming with possibility and peril. No one deserves a lie, Matt. Not her, not you, not us. He hesitated, then added softly. And yeah, I feel it too. Have for years. But running, that's not a plan. That's a panic attack with luggage. Matthew looked up, eyes red-rimmed but sparking with that stubborn Ellis fire. Then what is? Stay and let them carve me up in the papers? Local golden boy ditches bride for best man? Mom's bridge club would never recover. Aiden chuckled despite himself, the absurdity a brief buoy in the storm. We talk. To her, to your folks. Hell, to a therapist. But first, we own it. Together. The together lingered, a vow unspoken, as they re-entered the ballroom. The party had shifted into oblivious overdrive. Uncle Ted leading a conga line, the DJ spinning Sweet Caroline to cheers. But eyes followed them, whispers rippling like pond stones. Emily was at the head table, surrounded by her sisters, face composed but brittle, accepting hugs with mechanical grace. Matthew beelined for her, Aiden trailing like a shadow. The confrontation unfolded in hushed tones amid the din, a triad of shattered illusions. Emily's voice rose once. You owe me the truth, all of it. Drawing stares, but Matthew held firm, spilling years of denial in fragmented confessions. Aiden added what he could, his role the reluctant confessor, emphasizing the friendship that had teetered into more. By the time the cake was cut, awkwardly, with Emily's knife hovering before plunging, the decision crystallized. No elopement, no midnight flight. A postponement, announced by a teary Emily to the mic. Family emergency. Vague enough for plausible deniability. Guests murmured sympathies, clinking glasses to better days, oblivious to the real fracture lines. As the night wound down, Aiden drove Matthew to his hotel suite overlooking the Scioto River, the city lights blurring through rain-streaked windows. Silence stretched, heavy with exhaustion and the ghost of that kiss. I'm sorry, Matthew said finally as they pulled up, for dragging you into this mess. Aiden killed the engine, turning to face him. I'd follow you into worse. But tomorrow, we start fixing it. For real. Matthew nodded, then leaned across the console, their goodbye chaste. A brush of lips, a promise sealed. Stay with me tonight? Not like, just to not be alone. Aiden agreed, the room's king bed a neutral ground of rumpled sheets and room service regrets. They talked until dawn, unpacking the baggage of boyhood crushes and societal scripts, laughter punctuating the tears. For the first time, Aiden felt the weight lift, if only a fraction, the possibility of a life unscripted. But dawn brought reality's bite. A frantic call from Matthew's mother. The Hargroves are furious. Emily's talking annulment, and your father's on a warpath. The firm's senior partner, a family friend, had already texted. We need to discuss your future, son. By noon, they were back in Columbus. Matthew's sleek condo, a war room of takeout coffee and legal pads. Aiden sketched timelines, counseling sessions, coming out strategies, while Matthew paced, phone buzzing with fallout. Emily arrived unannounced, not with vitriol, but a quiet resolve, boxes of his things in tow. I loved you, she said, setting them down. Or thought I did. But this is a gift in a twisted way. Go live your truth. To Aiden, a nod. Take care of him. He's an idiot, but he's worth it. The door clicked shut, a chapter ending. Matthew collapsed onto the couch, pulling Aiden down with him. Now what? Now? Aiden said, lacing their fingers. We build something real, brick by honest brick. Weeks blurred into a tentative rhythm. Therapy in neutral offices, where Matthew unpacked his internalized shame like old luggage. Pride flags discreetly added to Aiden's loft. Stolen weekends in hidden cabins upstate, where the only witnesses were whispering pines. Aiden's designs bloomed bolder, infusing clients' brands with subtle queerness. A rainbow thread in corporate weaves. Matthew, emboldened, volunteered at the local LGBTQ center, his baritone reading stories to wide-eyed kids. But harmony is fragile in the heartland. Whispers turned to headlines when a tabloid hack leaked the wedding debacle. Columbus lawyer's gay bombshell. Bride jilted for best man. The firm's board summoned Matthew. Ultimatums veiled in concern. Image matters, Ellis. Clients talk. Aiden rallied him with diner pie and defiant toasts. But doubt crept in like fog off the river. Late one night, as rain lashed the windows, Matthew confessed, "What if I'm not brave enough? What if I lose it all?" Aiden pulled him close, heartbeat to heartbeat. Then we start over. Together. Yet the first crack in their foundation came not from without, but within betrayal's shadow, long and insidious. The betrayal slithered in on a Tuesday afternoon, disguised as an olive branch from Emily's brother, Tom Hargrove. Aiden was at his drafting table in the loft, sunlight slanting across half-finished logos, when his phone buzzed with an unknown number. Aiden? Tom here. Listen, we need to meet. Coffee? Neutral ground. Tom was the Hargrove wildcard Wall Street transplant with a jawline like chiseled granite and a reputation for closing deals that left competitors in the dust. Aiden had always pegged him as indifferent, the brother who showed up for holidays with expensive scotch and zero small talk. Wariness prickled, but curiosity, and a masochistic urge to gauge the damage, won out. They met at a corner bistro in German Village, all exposed beams and espresso steam, the kind of place where secrets fermented over lattes. Tom slid into the booth, Armani suit impeccable, smile sharp as a contract clause. Aiden, good to see you. No hard feelings, yeah? Family's a mess, but life's too short. Aiden stirred his black coffee, guarded. Yeah. How's Emily? Healing. Dating some tech bro from Silicon Valley now. Good for her. Tom leaned in, voice dropping. But that's not why I'm here. Matthew. He's spiraling, man. Firm's breathing down his neck. Folks are ice cold. I want to help. Suspicion coiled tighter. Help how? Tom pulled a folder from his briefcase, sliding it across the scarred oak table. Opportunities. My network's wide, NYC firms hungry for talent like his. Discreet transfer, fresh start. No scandals trailing. Aiden flipped it open. Glossy brochures, salary projections that dwarfed Matthew's current draw, relocation perks including a corner loft in Chelsea. Tempting on the surface. Generous. But why? After everything. Tom's grin faltered, just a flicker. Because I know what it's like to hide. Grew up in that house too, perfection or perish. Emily's free now, but Matt? He's still chained. And you're good for him, Aiden. Real. Figured you'd see the play. Aiden closed the folder, unease gnawing. Felt too clean, too calculated. I'll run it by him. Do that. Tom clapped his shoulder, standing. Tell him Tom's got his back. Matthew's reaction that evening was electric. Eyes lighting as he pored over the docks by the kitchen island, quinoa bowl forgotten. This could be it, Aid. Escape the vultures, start clean in the city. We could. Make it official. Rings, vows, the works. No more half measures. Aiden watched him, the excitement chasing away shadows, and felt a pang of something bittersweet. New York meant reinvention, but also uprooting, leaving Aiden's scrappy freelance gigs, his ragtag chosen family of baristas and barflies. Still, for Matthew's sake, he nodded. Let's do it. The move unfolded like a whirlwind, packing crates amid laughter-laced goodbyes, a U-Haul loaded under a harvest moon. Matthew's parents' farewell was stiff, his father's handshake limp, mother's hug laced with unspoken pleas. But they came, progress in fragility. Aiden's folks, ever the quiet allies, slipped him a check with a note. Build the life you dream, son. Love wins. New York swallowed them whole. Skyscrapers clawing at bruised skies, the Hudson's briny tang mingling with street vendor pretzels. They leased a walk-up in the Village, third floor with fire escapes for midnight confessions and window box herbs that Matthew murdered with overwatering. Aiden's portfolio exploded, queer-owned brands clamoring for his touch, while Matthew dove into Hargrove and Associates' satellite office, Tom's connections paving a velvet path. For a golden month, it was bliss unadulterated. Brunches at cozy cafes where hands intertwined without fear, gallery strolls hand in hand under autumn leaves, nights tangled in flannel sheets whispering futures. Matthew proposed properly on a rainy afternoon in Washington Square Park, umbrella forgotten, knee soaked through as he slid a simple platinum band onto Aiden's finger. You're my compass, Aid. North always. Aiden's yes was a sob, the ring an anchor against the city's chaos. But betrayal, that sly serpent, had teeth. It struck on a crisp November eve, as snow flurried like errant thoughts. Aiden came home early from a client pitch, arms laden with Thai takeout and a bottle of Pinot, eager for their ritual debrief. The apartment door yielded to his key, but the scene within froze him. Matthew at the desk, laptop aglow, Tom's face on video chat. Intimate, angled close, laughter spilling low and loaded. Can't keep this up forever, Tom. Aiden's great, but the firm's watching every move. Your way out. It's tempting. Tom's reply purred through the speakers, oily assurance. Patience, lover. Play the long game. Once you're in deep here, we cut him loose. Emily's already circling back. Forgiveness is a family specialty. Aiden's bags hit the floor, the thud echoing like judgment. Matthew spun, face ashen, but the damage was seismic. Aid, wait, it's not. Don't. Aiden's voice cracked, the world fracturing anew. He backed toward the door, the ring heavy as lead. How long? Matthew stood, hands outstretched. Months, since the folder. Tom. He got under my skin. Said it was strategy, networking. But it twisted, Aid. I swear, I never lied. Aiden spat, tears hot. To me? After everything. The pieces slotted, the late meetings, the distracted glances, the way Tom's name lingered too sweetly on Matthew's tongue. Betrayal wasn't just the affair. It was the erasure. Aiden reduced to a placeholder in someone else's chess game. He fled into the night, subways rattling like his pulse, ending up on a bench in Bryant Park, snow dusting his coat like forgotten confetti. Hours passed in numb reverie, memories replaying. That first kiss, the proposal, the lie woven from the start. Dawn crept in, gray and unforgiving, as his phone exploded. Matthew's texts a barrage of pleas, Tom's blocked number somehow slipping through with a smug "we can make this right." Aiden powered it off, the ring slipping from his finger into the drifts. A small silver surrender. Rebuilding began in fragments. Crashing on a design buddy's futon in Brooklyn, pitching feverishly to drown the ache, therapy sessions where he unpacked the scar tissue of loving too fiercely. New York, indifferent mother, absorbed his grief, neon signs blurring through rain, jazz clubs offering anonymous solace. Matthew's calls went unanswered, but the grapevine buzzed. Firm drama, Tom's demotion after Emily's furious intervention. Not in my name, brother. Aiden felt no triumph, only hollow vindication. Winter thawed into a hesitant spring, cherry blossoms mocking renewal. Aiden's work caught fire. A billboard campaign for a queer youth hotline, bold lines echoing his own jagged edges. Invites trickled in gallery openings, pride mixers. He went, smiled, danced with strangers whose touches sparked but didn't ignite. Then, one muggy June evening, anniversary of that fateful wedding, an envelope arrived, postmarked Columbus. Inside, Matthew's handwriting, spare and steady. I won't beg. I destroyed us, and no words undo that. But know this, you were my truth, brief as it burned. I'm back home, starting a solo practice, small, honest. Therapy's teaching me to live without masks. If forgiveness is a door, leave it cracked. No expectations. Forever yours in regret, Matt. Aiden folded it away, heart a bruise blooming purple. Not ready, not yet. But the crack was there, a sliver of light in the human mess of it all. Summer hummed on, Aiden's life a mosaic of tentative colors. A flirtation with a barista named Leo that fizzled gently, collaborations with activists that fueled his fire. He returned to Ohio for his cousin's barbecue, the Flatlands a balm of familiarity. There, in the grocery line, he spotted him, Matthew, leaner, grayer at the temples, stacking apples with quiet focus. Their eyes met, a collision soft as breath. No words, just a nod, acknowledgement, not absolution. Aiden walked out into the firefly dusk, lighter somehow. The secret shared not a chain, but a story etched in stars. The nod in the grocery aisle lingered like a half-remembered dream, propelling Aiden back to New York with a restlessness he couldn't shake. July's humidity clung like guilt, the city a pressure cooker of ambitions and aches. He threw himself into work, his latest project a graphic novel pitch. Echoes of Us, a tale of two men navigating love's labyrinth in the American heartland. Subtle nods to his own fractures, inked in metaphor and midnight oil. Feedback poured in, publishers intrigued, but one editor's note stung true. Deepen the betrayal arc. Make the redemption earned. Not easy. Aiden stared at the screen, cursor blinking accusation. Earned. Was that even possible? Across the river, Matthew's solo practice eked by in a Victorian brownstone-turned office. Files stacked like fortifications. Clients trickled. Pro bono for queer teens facing evictions. Custody battles for same-sex parents. Each win a small defiance. Each loss a reminder of stakes. Therapy unpacked the rest. How Tom's seduction preyed on his fear of failure. A mirror to the wedding day panic. You chose safety over soul, his counselor said plainly. Matthew nodded, the truth a scalpel carving space for growth. Letters became their tenuous bridge. Aiden's first reply terse, a postcard of the Brooklyn Bridge. Cracks let the light in, working on it. Matthew's responses bloomed slower, poetic. Musings on Ohio sunsets, a haiku about regret's weight. No pressure, just presence. A rhythm of ink and stamps, healing's patient Morse code. August brought a curveball. Emily's wedding invite, forwarded from Columbus. To new loves, the embossed script read, Destination nuptials in Napa Valley. A postscript in her looping hand, Aiden, come if you can. Forgiveness is a vineyard, best shared. Emily. Matthew's note tucked inside. No expectations, but I'd like to see you whole. Aiden weighed it, the weight of vines and vintage wounds. He booked the flight, solo, a pilgrimage, not a reconciliation. Napa unfolded in golden waves. Rolling hills stitched with emerald rose, air thick with earth and ferment. The ceremony was intimate. 50 souls under a trellis heavy with grapes. Emily radiant in ivory lace. Her tech bro groom, Javier, beaming with quiet strength. Aiden sat mid-row, anonymous in chinos and a linen shirt, heart a drumbeat of what-ifs. Reception sprawled across a sun-warmed terrace, string quartets weaving through clinking glasses. Emily found him by the dessert table, pulling him into a hug that smelled of lavender and liberation. You came. Means the world. Couldn't miss round two, Aiden quipped, voice steadier than he felt. You look free. She smiled, eyes crinkling. I am. Javier gets it, no pedestals, just partnership. And you? That glow, it's new. Aiden shrugged. plucking a macaron. Healing's a hack job, but it's mine. Tom lurked at the edges, subdued in a seersucker suit, avoiding Aiden's gaze like a scolded spaniel. No words passed, but the air crackled with unspoken reckonings. Emily's doing, no doubt. Then, across the lawn, Matthew. Leaning against an oak, tumbler in hand, conversation with Javier's brother halting mid-sentence as their eyes locked. He looked grounded, khakis rumpled just right, shirt sleeves rolled to elbows veined with purpose. Aiden's pulse skipped, but he held steady, weaving through guests to stand before him. "Harper," Matthew said, voice warm gravel. "You clean up nice." Ellis, still terrible at small talk. A beat, then laughter, tentative, true. They wandered the vines as dusk painted the sky lavender, feet crunching earth that whispered of roots and renewal. Words flowed halting. Aiden's novel, Matthew's caseload, the letter's quiet power. No deep dives into the abyss, just surface ripples testing depths. "You kept the postcard," Matthew noted, spotting the faint crease in Aiden's wallet photo. "A bridge silhouette. Keeps me honest." Aiden paused at a gnarled trunk, tracing bark like a scar. "This it's not fixed, but it's not poison anymore." Matthew nodded, close enough for heat to bridge the gap. "Fair. One step, yeah." The night ended with a dance. Chased sway to an old Sinatra tune, Emily's approving glance from afar. No kisses, no confessions, just the press of palms, a promise in motion. Back in New York, the encounter ignited sparks. Aiden's pitch sold, Echoes green-lit with a queer imprint. Matthew visited once, a weekend of museums and markets, sleeping on the couch with chivalrous insistence. Boundaries held, but the pull intensified, magnetic, patient. Fall crisped the edges. Leaves carpeting Central Park in fire. Aiden's birthday a low-key affair at a village bistro. Matthew surprised him with a leather-bound sketchbook, pages pre-stamped with Ohio wildflowers. Inside, a note, for the stories we haven't drawn yet. That night, over candlelight and Cabernet, barriers crumbled. Aiden's hand found Matthew's across the table, lingering. "I'm ready to try," he said simply. "If you are." Matthew's eyes shone, thumb tracing Aiden's knuckles. "Been ready since the grocery store. Since always." Their first real date post-betrayal was deliberate. A matinee at an indie theater, then falafel in the East Village, dissecting the film's fractured lovers with the fervor of survivors. Laughter came easy, touches intentional, a shoulder brush, a knee nudge. Back at the loft, the kiss ignited slow, exploratory, mapping familiar terrain with new reverence. No rush to bedsheets. Instead, foreheads pressed, breaths sinking like a duet long rehearsed. Winter wrapped them in tentative domesticity. Shared scarves against sleep, Matthew's law briefs scattered amid Aiden's inks. Conflicts arose, small, surmountable. Aiden's wanderlust clashing with Matthew's rooted routines. A flare-up over Tom's holiday card, shredded, unopened. But they talked, therapists' tools in tandem, turning friction to forge. Climax brewed in December. A holiday trip to Ohio unspooling like yarn from a grenade. Matthew's parents' annual fate loomed. A gauntlet of ants and expectations. "Come as my partner," he urged Aiden over mulled wine. "Show them we're real." Aiden hesitated, ghosts of the wedding whispering caution. "Your folks, they're thawing. But this, us." Matthew cupped his face, steady. "That's the point." The drive south was soundtrack scored. Springsteen crooning of Born to Run Hearts, snow dusting the median like sugar. Arrival at the Ellis homestead, a colonial with porch swings and picket fences, felt like stepping onto a stage mid-act. Mrs. Ellis greeted with a hug tighter than protocol, her eyes flicking to their linked hands with a swallow. Mr. Ellis grunted approval over eggnog, muttering, "World's changing. Just don't screw it up, son." The party swirled. Carols on loop, hem slicing to murmurs. Aiden fielded questions with grace. Graphic design, ma'am, tells stories without words. While Matthew orbited, protective. Then the spark. Uncle Ray, deep in his cups, cornering them by the punch bowl. Heard about the wedding fiasco. Shame Emily was a catch. You boys. Unnatural, if you ask me. The room hushed, forks pausing midair. Matthew stiffened, but Aiden stepped forward, voice even. Unnatural's hiding who you love, sir. We're just living it. Ray blustered, red-faced, but Mrs. Ellis intervened, steering him away with steel magnolia poise. The aftermath crackled. Matthew and Aiden retreating to the guest room, door clicking shut on chaos. You okay? Matthew asked, unbuttoning Aiden's shirt with gentle fingers. Better than. Aiden pulled him close, the kiss a bomb. We faced it. Together. Downstairs, reconciliation simmered. Mr. Ellis knocking later, awkward but earnest. Saw the news on that youth center you started, Matt. Proud. Both of you, welcome. New Year's dawned crisp. Resolutions whispered over mimosas. More trips, deeper truths. But beneath the warmth, Aiden sensed undercurrents. A letter from Tom, returned unopened. Matthew's glances lingering on old photos. Trust, fragile as hoarfrost, required tending. Spring 2026 bloomed with deceptive gentleness. Dogwoods unfurling pink against the city's grind. Aiden's Echoes of Us hit shelves in a flurry of indie buzz, softcover stacks in queer bookstores. Podcasts dissecting its betrayal to bomb arc signings drew crowds. Young fans with tear-streaked thanks, elders nodding sage wisdom. You captured the ache, one murmured. Aiden smiled, but inside, the mirror held. His own story, still inscribing. Matthew's practice steadied. A niche carved in family law for LGBTQ clients. Adoptions navigated like minefields. Estates willed with love's fine print. Success bred spotlight. A local news spot. From wedding wreck to rights warrior. Framing him as redemption's poster boy. Adulation swelled, but so did scrutiny. Anonymous emails decrying agenda pushing. A client's ex leaking session details online. One evening, post-reading at a Brooklyn co-op, Aiden returned to find Matthew pacing the loft, screen aglow with vitriol. They're coming for me, he said, voice frayed, saying I'm using the community for clout. After everything. Aiden drew him to the couch, arms a harbor. They're scared of what you represent, real change. But this, he tapped the article printout, Matthew mid-smile. This is you. Own it. Yet doubt festered, a quiet sabotage. Matthew withdrew. Late nights at the office, excuses laced with fatigue. Aiden pressed gently, but walls rose, familiar as old blueprints. The fracture widened over Memorial Day. A cabin getaway in the Adirondacks meant for reconnection. Lake Placid shimmered under canopies of birch, air pine-sharp and promising. They hiked trails etched with thaw, picnicked on shores where loons called like lost souls. Evenings by the fire. Esmores and stories. Matthew's head on Aiden's lap, fingers tracing tattoos of forgotten sketches. But on the second night, as embers died, Matthew's confession spilled. Tom called, offered partnership, full reintegration. Said the past is buried, Emily's blessing included. Aiden sat up, chill seeping despite the blanket. And I said no. Matthew's eyes pleaded. But it stirred things. What if we're holding each other back? You, thriving here, me, still fighting ghosts in Ohio's shadow. The words landed like driftwood, heavy with implication. Aiden's heart clenched. Echoes of the wedding, the ring in the snow. Is that what you want? Space. Or an out? Matthew recoiled. God, no. But fear. It's loud. Telling me I'll ruin you again. Aiden stood, pacing the creaky porch, stars in different witnesses. Fear's a liar, Matt. We've beaten it before. But if you're hearing it louder than us. He trailed off, the unsaid a chasm. Dawn broke tense. The drive home silent symphonies of what-ifs. Back in the loft, Aiden dove into revisions for Echo's sequel. Pen a sword against stagnation. Matthew buried in briefs, but glances lingered, wary, wanting. June's Pride Parade became their crucible. Rainbow rivers flooding Fifth Avenue, floats thumping bass lines of defiance. They marched arm in arm, Aiden's sign. Love's not a plot twist. Waving high. Cheers washed over, but midway, a counter-protester's megaphone blared slurs, faces twisted in hate. Matthew froze, grip tightening to bruise, as eggs splattered the crowd. In the chaos, Aiden shielded him, voice fierce, eyes front. We're here. But post-rally, in a quiet cafe, Matthew shattered. I can't do this forever, the hate, the hustle. Maybe Tom's right, maybe Easy's not evil. Aiden's coffee turned bitter. Easy's a cage, Matt. You taught me that. The argument escalated that night. Voices rising over takeout tie, accusations flying like shrapnel. You're pulling away, Aiden yelled. Just like before. Because I'm scared I'll break you again. Matthew roared back, tears carving tracks. I love you too much to drag you down. The door slammed. Matthew's exit. Aiden's echo. Days blurred. Unanswered texts. Radio silence. Aiden wandered the village, Leo's number burning a hole in his pocket, but dialed therapy instead. He's running from himself, he confessed to the line. How do I let go without losing me? Counsel echoed, boundaries, not barriers. Aiden penned a letter, left on the kitchen counter. Matt, love isn't possession. If you need to chase your fears alone, go. I'll root for you, from here, from anywhere. But no, my door's open, not obligated. Be brave. Be you. Always. Matthew vanished to Ohio, practice on hiatus, a soul-searching sabbatical. Whispers reached Aiden. Sightings at the center, volunteering with renewed fire. A podcast appearance, voice steady on vulnerability's valor. Summer waned. Aiden's sequel drafting in fevered strokes. Climax a lover's parting. Not defeat, but divergence toward self. Launches loomed. Life a solo waltz gaining grace. Then, equinox winds carried Matthew back. Not with pleas, but purpose. He appeared at Aiden's signing in a Soho bookstore. Crowd thinning. Copy clutched like contrition. Autograph? He asked, sheepish grin cracking defenses. Aiden took the pen steady. Dedication first. To the one who taught me love's plot twists are the best kind. Over after-party wine, truths tumbled. Matthew's retreat to the center, mentoring a kid mirroring his younger self. Rejection of Tom's offer, final as a gavel. I choose hard, he said. With you if you'll have me. Aiden searched his face, scars and stars. Earned. Remember? But yeah, let's write the next chapter. Reunion was ritual. Slow dances in the loft to vinyl crackle, hands relearning contours. No rush to labels, just partnership, profound in its plainness. Fall deep in their roots. Joint therapy, where Matthew unpacked Tom's echo, Aiden his abandonment fears. Holidays healed. Ellis dinner with toasts to family. Redefined. Hargrove fireside chats with Emily and Javier. Forgiveness a vintage shared. Yet climax loomed. Unbidden. A client's case exploding into national news. Matthew represented a trans teen suing for school recognition. Headlines screaming culture war. Threats rolled in. Slashed tires, voicemails venomous. Aiden fortified. Security cams, solidarity vigils. The night before trial, fear crested. Matthew paced, suit rumpled. If I lose this, you won't. Aiden pulled him down, grounding. Win or not, you're the hero here. Courtroom drama unfolded. Testimonies raw, judges gavel a thunderclap of justice. Victory, precedent set, teen's name affirmed. Jubilation surged, but privately, Matthew crumbled into Aiden's arms. I almost ran again, but you didn't. Aiden kissed his temple. That's the win. Winter's hush settled, their bond tempered steel. 2027 dawned with a quiet audacity. Snow blanketing the city in hush money for the year's grit. Aiden and Matthew's life wove tighter. A down payment on a brownstone in Harlem. Walls soon splashed with murals. Aiden's visions of intertwined silhouettes against skyline backdrops. The Echoes series clinched a graphic novel award. Panels now framed beside Matthew's Bar Association plaque for pro bono excellence. Daily rhythms hummed human. Mornings with the New York Times crossword over oat milk lattes, evenings dissecting cases or sketches, weekends volunteering at the center, Matthew coaching mock trials, Aiden leading art workshops where kids etched identities unapologetic. Conflicts ebbed to navigable. Aiden's travel for cons, Matthew's late-hour depositions, resolved in check-ins crisp as autumn air. Betrayal's ghost visited rarely now. A Tom's holiday card, politely declined. An anniversary toast to lessons learned, not lingered. Emily's vineyard became annual pilgrimage. Javier's barbecues a balm of blended families. Spring brought the proposal redux. Not grand, but grounded. Central Park, under the same oak where autumn leaves had fallen like first doubts. Matthew knelt with a ring forged from recycled wedding gold. Emily's gift, transmuted. Aiden Harper, partner in plot twists. Will you build forever with me? Aiden's yes was laughter tears. The band slipping on like fate reforged. Vows planned intimate. A rooftop affair in July. 50 souls under string lights. Officiant a center mentee now lawyer in training. But life's drama peaks unscripted. August storm clouds gathered literal and figurative. Hurricane whispers from the Gulf, but personal gale from Matthew's father. Alzheimer's diagnosis, swift as a verdict. The call came mid-sketch. Aiden's line blurring with Matthew's choked recount. He's slipping aid. Forgot my name today. The practice. Mom's alone. Aiden set down the tablet, crossing to envelop him. We'll go. Handle it. Ohio enveloped them in humid haze. The Ellis home a time capsule of faded wallpaper and photo galleries. Young Matthew gap-toothed, Aiden photobombed in half the frames. Mr. Ellis wandered halls murmuring cases long closed, eyes lighting only at Matthew's voice. Dad, it's me, your boy. Days blurred caregiving. Aiden adapting designs to large print calendars, Matthew navigating power of attorney mazes. Nights, porch swings creaked under starlit vigils. Grief a shared vigil. Climax crested in a hospital vigil. Mr. Ellis fading postfall, monitors beeping dirges. Family gathered. Mrs. Ellis clutching rosaries, aunts murmuring prayers. Matthew at bedside, Aiden sentinel. As final words emerged, proud, son, love, whoever makes you shine. Matthew's sob broke the room, Aiden's hand anchor. In the aftermath, eulogy at the Methodist chapel. Matthew's voice steady, weaving legacy with love's quiet rebellion. He taught me justice isn't just law, it's living true. Burial under weeping willows, then wake with potluck casseroles and catharsis. Mrs. Ellis pulled Aiden aside. You saved him, dear, from himself. A hug, fierce, familial. Return to New York was tempered. Matthew quieter, Aiden's touches more tender. Fall foliage framed therapy breakthroughs, grief not a thief but teacher. Wedding planning infused purpose. Invites etched with wildflowers, vows vowing through storms and stills. Ceremony day shimmered. Rooftop aglow at golden hour, guests a tapestry. Emily toasting to love's reborn. Leo clapping from the barista brigade. Center kids beaming in tiny bow ties. Aiden in tailored indigo, Matthew in soft gray. Exchanging rings under a chuppah borrowed from Javier's traditions. Unity in diversity. Vows echoed emotional. Raw, Matthew's. You saw me when I was blind to myself. Aiden's in your flaws. I found my home. Kiss sealed. Cheers erupted. Confetti swirling like liberated secrets. Honeymoon in Napa. Full circle. Vines heavy with promise. Emily's cottage loaned for lazy dawns. They wandered rows hand in hand, toasting sunsets with her vintage. To betrayals that birthed this. Back home, life deepened humanistic hues. Matthew expanding the practice to elder law. Aiden illustrating center fundraisers. Stories of resilience, ringside. Pride 2028. Leading afloat, their kiss broadcast on jumbotrons. Applause a wave of belonging. Years layered. Adoptions pursued. A rescue pup named Ellis Harper bounding chaos. Travels to Berlin's walls. Tokyo's neon. Love's global grammar. Conflicts came. Career crossroads. Health scares minor. But rooted in ritual. Date nights decoding dreams. Anniversaries revisiting the veranda's ghost. A decade on, at 50 minus a few, they mentored a young couple echoing their youth. Wedding jitters, family phrase. It's messy, Aiden advised over coffee. But human. That's the beauty. Matthew added, arm around Aiden's waist. And the ending? It's whatever you write next. In quiet evenings, sketchbook open, Aiden drew them. Lines entwined, horizons vast. No grand tragedies, no fairy tale gloss. Just a life, profoundly ordinary, extraordinarily theirs. Under American skies, from heartland heartbreaks to skyline serenades. Love proved not a secret, but a story, dramatic, emotional, romantic, unyieldingly human. The end? Not quite. Just the pause before the next page turns.